when the storms came through, the ceiling caved in. The roof, as you can see, completely torn off. Incredibly, she made it out alive without a scratch. Overnight, parts of the Northeast drenched by heavy rain and hail after deadly storms pounded the South and Midwest, as dozens of tornadoes ripped through 7 states, killing at least 40 people, uprooting trees and dismantling homes and businesses.
Oh my God!
The strongest confirmed twister, a powerful EF4 in Jackson County, Arkansas. This monster funnel cloud seen in Mississippi. As frightening scenes broke out across the state.
I was holding my wife to my chest and just watching everything disappear and watching everything get ripped down away from me.
And in neighboring Alabama, one possible tornado strong enough to toss a bus onto a high school. Farther west, high winds are still wreaking havoc. As wildfires rage across Texas and Oklahoma, the frightening flames and high winds being blamed for at least 4 deaths. And a Kansas dust storm causes highway pileup where 8 people died.
I have vehicles crashing behind me. This is extremely volatile, very hazardous situation.
Back in Mississippi, resilience rising above the rubble as a recovery begins. When you look at the devastation around you, are you just grateful?
I'm just thankful to be alive. Yeah. The important thing is that me and my family are safe.
Yeah. And we have been seeing crews coming in from all over, getting those critical repairs underway. And in a bit of good news, here in Mississippi, the 3 originally reported missing this weekend were all found alive, according to the governor. Craig?
That is a silver lining in a lot of storms there. Kathy, thank you.
All right, the good news, Al is back. The bad news, these storms just wreaking havoc for so many this weekend.
Really, the good news is, if there is some, is that as the storm moves into the east, it's lost a big part of its punch. Some heavy rain still, especially stretching from Bangor all the way down to Norfolk, but the heaviest damage has been done. That tornado where Kathy was, it threw debris upwards of 30,000 feet into the air. That's as high as airplanes are flying. With this system moving off, we've got, again, from Eastport down to Providence, some isolated 3 inches of rain or more. Now, out west, another big storm coming on shore. Not as highly impactful as this last one, but still going to bring 8 million people under winter storm watches and warnings as well, winter storm advisories as this comes in. Heavy snow will blanket the Sierra Nevada. An intense 60-mile-per-hour wind gust. The big problem for this midsection of the country, it is bone dry. And so there's a critical risk for fire from Denver down to San Angelo, Oklahoma City. This system moves east, and look what happens down in Texas. There's an extreme risk for fire danger. These strong winds are going to cause big problems as this storm system rolls into the Central Plains. Snow from this thing will be bringing anywhere from a foot of snow in the Sierra Nevada to some heavier snow up into the UP of Michigan, anywhere from 9 inches to a foot. Guys?
All right, now we'll come back to you in just a few moments. Meanwhile, also this morning, the Trump administration is defending President Trump's use of a wartime law to expel hundreds of alleged Venezuelan gang members to El Salvador over the weekend, and that was despite a judge's order to turn the planes around. We're also hearing from the president and American consumers on another key issue, the trade war sparked by those new tariffs. We have 2 reports for you this morning, starting with NBC's senior White House correspondent, Garrett Haight. Garrett, good morning to you.
Hey, Craig, good morning. And President Trump promised during the campaign and in his inaugural address to wield a rarely used, more than 200-year-old law to target foreign gangs operating on U.S. soil. This weekend, he made good on that threat in stunning fashion, despite an order from a federal judge, sparking a new legal and political battle over immigration. Overnight, President Trump defending his administration's controversial deportations of some 300 alleged Venezuelan gang members, not back to their home country, but to a mega prison in El Salvador.
These were bad people. That was a bad group of, as I say, hombres.
The president of El Salvador posting this video on X of the deportation flights arriving and prisoners taken into custody, having their heads shaved. The White House claiming authority for the deportations under the Alien Enemies Act of 1798, a statute last invoked during World War II. A federal judge immediately blocked the president's proclamation and ordered any planes to return to the U.S. immediately, but they did not. The White House quickly appealing the judge's order, claiming in a statement Sunday that it had, quote, no lawful basis, and was issued after the planes had left U.S. territory. The president responding to critiques about using the wartime power.
This is a time of war. They invaded our country, so
comes as President Trump continues to tout his tariff-based economic moves, saying they'll ultimately lead to a booming economy, despite last week's stock market sell-off. Asked overnight if this is his economy now.
Certain things are. Certainly tariffs are, which we've already taken in billions of dollars.
Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent insisting on Meet the Press that the recent market volatility is an adjustment to the president's policies, not a sign of a coming recession. But asked if he can guarantee there won't be a recession, Bessent saying, quote, "There are no guarantees."
We are resetting and we're putting things on a sustainable path.
And while the president spent the weekend largely out of sight at his Mar-a-Lago resort, on Saturday the White House posted these photos showing Trump appearing to view video of airstrikes he ordered against Iran-backed Houthi rebels in Yemen, who've been targeting U.S. and international shipping. Houthi officials say the strikes killed 53 people. The president's sledgehammer overhaul of the federal government continued over the weekend. His order Friday to eliminate the U.S. Agency for Global Media has led to the gutting of its Voice of America broadcaster. More than 1,000 journalists there were placed on administrative leave Saturday, NPR is reporting, expected to be fired. The VOA had reached some 350 million people weekly in 50 languages around the world. Craig?
Garrett Haig from the White House Force. Garrett, thank you so much. Joined now by national political correspondent Steve Kornacki, here to break down our brand new NBC News poll on the president's first 50-plus days back in office. Always good to see you, Steve. So here we are, 8 weeks in. President Trump, voters responding to some of his policies. What do the numbers tell you about where the president stands right now?
Yeah, it's interesting, Craig. A lot of activity these past 2 months. Here's the approval rating for Donald Trump in a new poll. 47% of voters say they like the job he's doing now. Put this in some context because I think this is the interesting part. Historically, these are all the modern presidents at this point, after just coming to office. Obama, George W. Bush, you can see at the bottom of the list would be Donald Trump at 47%. So historically speaking, this is low. However, if you compare it to Donald Trump's first term in 2017, this is actually about as good as Trump has done, a 47% approval rating in our poll. Also, what it suggests is that since the election, he hasn't grown his support, but that coalition that elected him still for right now does seem to be with him.
Hasn't lost the support either. What do the numbers tell us, Steve, about what's working for the president and where he may be a little vulnerable?
Yeah, what's keeping that coalition intact and maybe giving an opportunity to grow it? This would be number one. Border security, immigration, majority approval for Trump here, 55%. That goes beyond his base, who like how he's handled this. There's the big issue of the Department of Government Efficiency, Elon Musk, DOGE they call it. We ask folks, good idea, bad idea. Plurality say good idea. So those may be working in Trump's favor overall. This isn't. The economy, inflation, two issues obviously that powered into the White House. His approval rating on the economy, 44%. Inflation, just 42%. Majority disapproval on both. And I'll tell you, in his first term, the economy was his one strong suit in polling. And right now, these are some of his worst numbers. Economy, inflation, two very important issues to Americans.
Have Democrats been able to capitalize at all on either one of these, the economy or the inflation?
Yeah, so logic would tell you if something is going south for the president politically, it should help his opponents. And yet, take a look at this. We ask folks their opinion of each party. It's not great for either one, positive or negative, but holy smokes, look at this, 27-55. They are 28 points, the Democrats, underwater on this, more negative than positive. And put this in context, the history, our NBC poll asking about the two parties, this negative 28 for Democrats is the worst ever recorded, and this is what's happened since the election. It's just fallen off a cliff for them.
The worst ever recorded?
Yes, for a party in our poll. Yep.
Steve Kornacki. Thank you, Steve.
Got it.
Laura, over to you.
All right, let's turn now to some breaking news overnight on the push for an end to Russia's war in Ukraine. President Trump announcing he will speak to Vladimir Putin tomorrow, step toward a possible ceasefire. But even as talks appear to be intensifying, the fighting between Russia and Ukraine has only escalated. NBC's chief international correspondent, Keir Simmons, is on the ground for us in the Russian province of Kursk. Keir, good morning.
Good morning. Kursk has seen the fiercest fighting in recent months. Locals say this building was hit in December. You can see there is military everywhere here. The front of this building appears to have been blown out by the blast. As we drove into here, we saw two damaged Bradley fighting vehicles apparently seized by the Russians from the Ukrainians, and many trucks carrying dead and injured Russians. This morning, President Trump preparing going to speak with President Putin as he pushes for a ceasefire.
I'll be speaking to President Putin on Tuesday. A lot of work's been done over the weekend. We want to see if we can bring that war to an end. Maybe we can, maybe we can't, but I think we have a very good chance.
The intensity and brutality of the fight apparent in new images from Sujar in Kursk region from Russian government channels and media. Ukrainian forces are in retreat, losing a valuable bargaining chip. Kursk is Russian territory held by Ukraine for 7 months. Ukraine defeated here by a relentless Russian onslaught, supported by North Korean soldiers, and a last straw, the brief loss of US intelligence. Even as Trump promotes peace, Putin visiting Kursk in military fatigues last week, urging his troops on. Inside Russia, a vocal minority of ultra-nationalists are urging him not to agree to a ceasefire, calling it a trap, warning Ukraine will recover and resume fighting. Publicly, the Russian leader saying only he supports a pause in principle. But the Trump administration says in meetings they're discussing details like dividing up assets.
We'll be talking about land, we'll be talking about power plants. We're already talking about that. Dividing up certain assets. And they've been working on that.
Something that Ukrainian President Zelensky has called complicated. Now, there are many, including US allies, with profound doubts. The Trump administration criticizing President Macron of France over the weekend for saying Russia does not appear to be sincerely seeking peace. Front page of many Russian newspapers showing pictures of President Trump.
Kirsten Mintz, thank you.
All right, lots more to get to on a Monday morning, including the excitement of March Madness. The brackets are now set. Fans are buzzing from coast to coast. So here to walk us through the selections and what